when the mind is being purified, particularly in concentration practice, it's both softening our self-definition. So I believe I'm me in these different ways. Again, can be my gender, my age, my country of origin, my family, my education, all the markers that we have, including my physicality, my body. So as we're doing this, we're pulling away from our awareness of all of that, and we're focusing on the breath. And what happens, for those of you that know how I introduced 3 stages of shikantaza, those I found out came from the Chan tradition, but part of it when I was coming up with those was breaking down the jhana practice. Like one of the things that happens as we get deeper in concentration is that the sense of the body boundary softens. We can feel like our head is missing, we're missing half our body, or we can have a body, I'm not sure the term, but our sense of where we are gets affected. It can feel like my right arm is 2 meters to the right and my left leg is 3 meters to the left. Like my body can feel like it's all over the room. And that's part of it, is we're getting loosened, we're getting unhitched from all the different ways that we identify ourselves. And at the same time, we're orienting to the absolute more and more. So we're letting languaging is really, really difficult for lots of this, but in effect, we're relaxing our grip on awareness. Awareness is a oneness, a unity. We will talk about, I have awareness of you, I have awareness of my meditation, and that just means from here, there's an awareness happening. In truth, the awareness is not divided. It's a oneness, a wholeness. So part of what's happening is that we're breaking down the conceptual division, the border between my awareness and the absolute's awareness. And so we're recognizing more and more there's this one awareness that's happening. So there's both, I'll talk about this later, there's both a transformative benefit, meaning our personality, we put down a lot of our personality material, we see through a lot of our personality orientation. So this changes us for that reason. That happens. And then there's also the transcendent, meaning we're orienting to this really spectacular experience of a particular quality of the absolute. So we're orienting just to that quality. And I'll go into this later, but each jhana has a quality that I call a radio frequency. And it feels like when you're experiencing it, it feels like you're in this space where there's a noise, there's a sound, a kind of a high-pitched sound, or it could be low, whatever, but it's a certain sound. And it doesn't feel like we're in complete harmony with it. Like it's a little, we can't quite match it for some reason. So part of the experience in the jhana is our consciousness attunes to that frequency. And when our frequency matches perfectly, meaning each time we go into the first jhana, boom, we're right there with that frequency, then there's been enough purification in first jhana, we're ready to open to second jhana. When we would experience second jhana, there would be the disparity again. And through sustained contact, we would open more, we would put down the various limitations to where we're once again, these are in unity, in uniform. And that's the progression of the jhana. That's part of the benefit. So all of this is happening is all purification of mind, which you can see is quite impactful and can be incredibly life-changing to experience. There's a lot of technique one can learn in this practice, even though the practice itself is incredibly simple. My teacher, Paul Exida, if you go to interview with him and you give him this, he goes, how's it going? Well, this blah, 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 blah. And you'll say, and he says, focus here. And that's the interview. And he says that to almost everybody, unless you're very deep in the practice, he'll give more instruction. Until then, you hear focus here a lot. So, and it is a good instruction. It's actually very helpful. It just, there's more we can have. So it's a practice we can do on and off the cushion, and I'll go through that at some point. So that's helpful. But it is a practice that we're drawing awareness from other perceptions. We're specifically saying, I'm taking this big awareness and I'm bringing it here. And what will happen then is we will be less aware. Like if we're meditating, even though there's going to be sense data in the room we're in, as we get deeper in the practice, it feels as though we're further and further away from the environment we're in. And things like you could hear someone ring the bell, but it would sound so far away, it wouldn't, you might not even realize that that means it's the end of the sitting. You would just be hearing or a cough. It would be so remote. So I think there would be, if you're really needing to concentrate mentally, intellectually, conceptually, it would be better to lighten this practice. And also, if people are going through things where the heart practices are more appropriate, there's a suffering going on, a family member is really ill. Doing the jhana practice is going to invite a lot of serenity and tranquility, which could be helpful, but then also having the heart practice of upekkha, acceptance, and the karuna, the tender, loving support, might be a more appropriate practice. So, and there are some people who this is a really challenging practice. Everybody I've worked with in 20 years of teaching this can make connection with the breath and on every retreat I've done, I'd say 99.9% of the people experience deep concentration. A smaller percentage experience jhana. So it doesn't evolve into that for everyone on retreat. But anyway, I'm meandering. But I would say yes. So there is some strategy and skill on when to apply it, and I think you'll notice when it's not an appropriate time, when you're too distracted, the world around you is too busy, too complicated. That's the time you want to pull back. Yeah, that's how my teacher presented it. Was one wanted to learn the jhanas to purify the mind for deepening practice and lessening of the self, and encountering impermanence. So those were beneficial, but it was a place to rest, a pleasure place to rest. And I asked him once that some of the concerns of the jhana practice in Asia were that people would become basically addicted to the jhanas and would only want to do jhana and wouldn't want to do other practices or engage in life. And my teacher said, you just keep moving them on. They get first jhana, move them to second. When they get all 8 jhanas, you move to the next practice. So you don't let people stay. They keep moving. So they realize it's a tool. It's a meditation that can be employed when it's necessary, but it's not a place we want to abide all the time either. We're not, there's other practices too. So it has its place. I guess that's what I said. But so, and that's one thing I do want to say. I'll present from the Pawak lineage, which I'm a part of. Other lineages teach differently. I have no criticism or judgment on how anybody else is doing it, but it is different. What we teach is considered the highest bar, and I think of the Western teachers, I have the highest bar of those teachers. So there are sort of exacting standards. I get their strategy, but it's just we do it in a different way. It has a different impact. Yeah.